The Tory leadership and their friends have been absolutely savage towards the young rebels. In a funny way, that's quite a compliment, isn't it?
Well, it is. But I think that, oddly enough, their claims of blackmail, I mean, poor little pets, they try to bring down the Prime Minister and then complain when the whips do their job and say that you better be very careful what you do. But look, I think that, oddly enough, they have sowed so much confusion within the ranks of the government party that it's given the slippery pig another chance to slip away unscathed. I'm not suggesting that he'll simply do that, but confusion is his strongest suit.
Do you go along then with Fraser Nelson's analysis in The Telegraph? I mean, particularly given that the magazine that he edits, The Spectator, has been pretty savage towards Boris Johnson, that he's saying he may have just found the means to get himself one more chance.
Yes, I think Fraser's article, very well argued, was a straw in the wind for Boris because, as you say, both The Spectator and The Telegraph, his old stamping ground, Boris's area of journalist expertise, both of whom were his strongest backers in the early days, have been pretty tough on Boris throughout all of this. There's no quarter given by his former allies in this matter at all. They've been prepared to publish all the stuff that is causing harm, even though they should do, because this is news and they are newspapers. But it's not doing him any good. However, I think that Fraser has sniffed the wind here, which is that be careful of what you wish for. Who's going to take over? Is it going to be Rishi, who's not really 100% wanted by everyone in the party, is still not fully tested, even though he has been Chancellor of the Exchequer, which is a very heavyweight political role. They certainly don't want, by and large at any rate, Liz Truss in that job. So there's a third thread to this too, which is emerging and emerged, in fact, quite dramatically yesterday, when Lord Heseltine, Michael Heseltine, the former Deputy Prime Minister, made it abundantly clear in terms that they were seizing upon this leadership crisis to try and oust Boris and reverse Brexit. Now, this was always going to be a big problem for a party if and when Boris was deposed. They would fall back into that civil war, basically. But what Heseltine has done is really speak on behalf of the House of Lords, the Labour Party, the Liberal Democrats, and a large chunk of Boris's Tory backbenchers by saying, effectively, the game's back on.
Yeah.
If Boris goes, they'll want a new referendum.
Absolutely. And when Lord Adonis said it, less significant, but when Heseltine says it, goodness me, they sit up and listen. On the substance of the story, another significant development, we read that Sue Gray, the senior civil servant looking at all of this stuff, has now found the email in which a senior civil servant warns the Prime Minister's private secretary not to hold the party. That's quite interesting, but not the end of the story, because it all hinges on whether his private secretary then passed the warning on to the Prime Minister. If that is shown to be the case, he's dead in the water, isn't he?
Well, all these questions must be asked by Sue Gray. She cannot deliver a whitewash. If it's a whitewash which clearly avoids the questions and evades the issues, it will be seen as effectively a condemnation in its absence. So she can't duck the issue. She has to, if she's got evidence, she needs to address it, ask Boris about it, and deliver it in her report. So, yes, he's in extreme danger if indeed if there is evidence that he misled MPs, effectively lying to MPs, which is a resignation issue.
Final point, and it's the Labour Party, again, playing a blinder from a Tory perspective. They get a defection only to find that the left of the party can't stand the sight of the man, and his constituency Labour Party in Bury South always had their doubts about him and have published all sorts of nasty stuff about him. Not Keir Starmer's finest day.
No, and I think that, to be honest, defectors are never welcomed even by the party they defect to. They're not seen as true, in this case, red. They are seen as people who cannot be trusted. And of course, he is on record making extremely savage remarks about people like Angela Rayner and the Labour Party policies. And so, look, this man has committed suicide politically. He is finished. He may think that he's got away with it, but they're not going to I don't think they're going to accept it in Bury. It may even be enough for them to vote Tory again next time round. So that would really be a fascinating result, wouldn't it?